I want to say yes and no. Okay, yes, sometimes you always have the same, and there are some spirit guides who remain. The spirit guide that comes with you or is assigned with to you at birth when you enter the planet through your mother's body uh, is with you straight through, right? It's with you straight through. They're almost like a sentinel. They're there. They tend to show up in emergency situations. They're not always the same person you want to depend on for all kinds of information. Like, for example, you might also need temporary spirit guides to help you through situations that are temporary, or times in your life where you need a little extra help, but then you are no longer in that part of your life, so you don't really need them anymore, right? So this gets a little tricky because we acquire them in our life. We have the one at birth. We get usually another one like around before the age of 6 years old. We get another one, somewhere around like 10, 12, maybe another one in the early teens. And then thereafter, they seem to arrive when called upon. Now, I could actually call on one, wait for them to arrive, do my work, and release them, right? Because I have that ability and that knowledge and that experience. You can too. And in this case, sometimes they're there for a super specific function. Like if I were going to start writing a book, which I'm going to start doing here shortly, I would call upon a spirit guide to help me with writing. So it just kind of flows, helps me, so it'll just flow right out from me onto the paper or onto the computer. When I'm no longer in need and that project's done, I would go through a process or a ceremony to thank them and then release them. Now, there are times when we acquire spirit guides subconsciously. It's not necessarily conscious. Yes, what we're going through is conscious. Like, for example, we have a ton of drama, or we have a moment of chaos, or something happens to us where we experience some level of deep emotion, that isn't satisfactory, but rather creates dissonance for us. Let me give you an example, because I just did a soul blueprint reading for a client, and we talked about this. When the guide was called in, it served a particular purpose, and that purpose, I call it a program, right? So they ran a program to create the solution or to help resolve a situation, and then it was not released. So it's still, I can see that spirit guide is still around. I can see that in the soul record, and it's still running this old program, which is no longer needed, which in fact has been holding this person back, right, from being able to manifest in alignment with their soul, because this program is still being run to help them the way that it did 25 years ago. But that's over. That lesson was learned and ready to move on, but the program is now inhibiting, right? So this is when the spirit guide becomes negative. And negative doesn't mean, evil and tossing things around the room like we see in the movies like ghosts do, right? That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about negativity in terms of keeping you from being in alignment with the essence of your soul, right? So they pull you out of alignment. And the example that I just gave you, that's one where the spirit guide was called upon subconsciously, So this can happen with things like, I never want to feel like that again. I never want to have this experience again. I can't believe I got ripped off. I don't want to get ripped off like that again. I don't want to deal with, somebody who behaves like that with me. Oh my gosh, that was so stupid. How could I have done something so stupid? Right? So, but imagine that being, in a moment that is chaotic or dramatic or, intense, or intense anger, or someone like completely betrays you, or you trusted somebody and they're just lying to your face and you find out, oh, wasn't that a good one? So even if you hold yourself back from revenge, which is never good, it's never good to, project revenge. It's better to, instead take the lesson and leave the rest. You know, sometimes we are projecting things that people are, our anger, or maybe even a curse, and or we might ask for help in those moments, or we're asking for help for ourselves or the situation. And so that act alone of asking, some people pray for it, right? They pray for it. Well, it still shows up, regardless of how you're asking for it, whether it's you're consciously doing it, calling him in, or you are subconsciously doing it on another level, on soul level, or your spirit's doing it, say, wow, I really need help with this. And then they come in, but then you forget to release them. Right? So they run this program. So in this last instance, when you could go through a process on your own, if you know of one, to be able to disconnect everyone and everything that isn't serving, or that is even tapping into your energy, but that's a different topic. Obviously, you can come to someone like me, where I go into the Akasha and I see what's present and what's in service and what isn't service, and I can work with spirit guide counselors and that sort of thing. If you're interested in that, send me a message, and I can send you a link so that we can get on the call and we can talk about that and how I might be able to help you.